5 things you must do when the police pull you over, unless you want to get arrested. Before we get into them, quick reminder that we have a gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now. It's absolutely free. Just click the link in the description down below to learn which new gun you could win. No one likes a traffic stop, but doing these few things will ensure your traffic stop ends safely for everyone involved. Think about this. The most dangerous thing police officers do every day is make traffic stops. Every traffic stop is potentially deadly for the police officer. And it's not just the danger of gunfire or sudden assault that police officers face. Passing traffic is even more deadly. You, as a responsibly armed citizen, must understand that police officer is already on alert even before arriving at your vehicle window. The officer is on the lookout for a whole host of dangers and does not know your intentions during this interaction. Officer safety is the overriding element in any police interaction with the public. Police officers do not know what to expect, so you can bet they are expecting the worst until such time that they are given clear indication that an interaction will be peaceful and without incident. Even so, all cops know good incidents can go bad very quickly. It's sad but true that anything can happen at any time, and there is no such thing as a routine traffic stop. Remember this, the officer doesn't know anything about you. Only information available prior to the stop is your driving history. You will decide the officer's level of concern and influence his or her action. Good officers will not approach your car thinking you are a sociopath. But good officers also know you could turn out to be one. The easier you make things, the easier things will be. Keeping this in mind, here are 5 things you must do to ensure your traffic stop ends without incident. Number 1, pull over safely and completely. Slow down, use your directional signal, and move as far to the side of the road as you safely can. If you believe the area to be unsafe, engage your hazard lights and drive very slowly away from traffic to a place you believe to be safe. If that area is well lit, all the better. If the police officer determines the area you have stopped to be unsafe, expect to hear the officer give you instructions over the PA. Follow those instructions. Number 2, everybody in the car, sit still. Roll down your window, but after that, keep your hands on the top of the steering wheel. Any front seat passenger should put their hands palm down, fingers extended on the dashboard. Rear seat passengers should do the same with their hands on the front seat. Turn the engine off and turn on all interior light. Number 3, if you can't be polite, be quiet. You may think there's no reason for the stop. You may be in a hurry. You may be having the worst day of your life, but it could get even worse. Angry comments will immediately send up red flags for the officer. If you are the driver, tell your passengers to be quiet too. Number 4, wait for instructions. Don't be digging around for your license, registration, or proof of insurance as the officer approaches. This is described as furtive movement in a police report and is always reason for an officer to draw his or her gun and be ready for anything. Don't move until the officer asks you to move. Number 5, tell the officer you want to cooperate and will follow his or her instructions. Say this politely and look toward the officer as you say it. People who appear to be trying to hide their faces or their eyes tend to put officers on edge. At this point in the traffic stop, the officer will identify him or herself, likely briefly explain the reason for the stop, and will ask you for your license and registration. Tell the officer you need to reach for it and say, "Is it okay for me to?" Now explain what you're going to do. When the officer tells you it's okay to move, do so slowly. You may wish to narrate your movements, but do so politely. If you live in a state that requires you to inform police officers that you have a concealed carry permit, now is the time to do so. Calmly tell the officer that you have a concealed carry permit and that you have your personal weapon with you. Follow the officer's instructions to the letter, repeating them for clarity if you feel you must. But remember, to be cognizant of the tone of your voice. If the officer feels like you are getting angry or agitated, you will see a definite shift in his or her demeanor. If you are not required to announce that you have a concealed carry permit, it is often best not to do so. When you are not actually handing the officer your identification or reaching with his or her permission and acknowledgement for something, keep your hands on the wheel. Your passengers should also keep their hands on the seat at all times. Never, never, never reach for anything while pulling over or while the officer is approaching your car. This is the best way to put a cop on high alert. Don't argue. The side of the road is not the place to plead your case. Save that for a court appearance. If you really feel like the ticket was given in error or the stop was made without just cause, go to court. handle it there. Don't be rude. Yes, you pay the officer's salary. Yes, he's a public servant. No, he doesn't have anything better to do right now. Being rude has never made and never will make a traffic stop go smoothly. Don't talk about your rights. The police officer knows your rights probably better than you do. And if you really feel like your rights are being violated, take the ticket, get a lawyer, and sue the police department. Don't get out of the car unless you are told to do so. Here's how cops think. If you're in the car, it's very difficult for you to physically assault the officer. Once you get out of the car, the danger of physical confrontation grows exponentially, which means the officer's anxiety level also grows at the same rate. Remember this, a cop doesn't want to be on this traffic stop any more than you do, and the cop certainly doesn't want anything to go wrong during the stop. The cold, hard truth about any police use of force is that the police officer does not determine the level of force to be used. The resistive subject does that. The more you resist, the more force the officer must use to control the situation. Even more importantly, it's not you specifically, it's everyone. Remember that police officers regularly deal with some of the worst people on the planet. This means cops are nearly always trying to sort through mountains of BS just to find a shred of truth. If that's not enough to put an officer on guard during a traffic stop, remember too that the officer is trained to take control of the situation. No one is allowed to push the officer around. This means the officer will often be direct and sometimes even abrupt. A criminal will take any opportunity to lead an officer away from the truth, so the cop will work very hard to keep things on task and to the point. Sometimes this may come off as rudeness. Don't let that cause you to escalate the situation. The officer is not being rude, he or she is just being direct. And there is one more thing people need to remember. Cops are people too. Think about all the little stressors in your life. Bills, kids, aging parents, car care, a leaky roof, a broken water pipe. Cops have all of those day-to-day stressors to deal with too, just like you do. And a cop also puts on a gun and body armor to start a very stressful workday. Maybe the officer just came from a traffic stop where excessive speed resulted in a child's death. Maybe the cop has teenage kids and just worked the scene of a drug overdose where a teenager has died. Your attitude could help that officer make it through a very rough day. Don't believe the hype. Cops are not out to get you or anyone. They are just doing a very tough job, and you have the opportunity to make that job just a little bit easier. No one enjoys a traffic stop, not even the police officer. But if you follow the tips provided here, it will ensure that your traffic stop never ends up on the national news. Want to know the 3 biggest mistakes when carrying a handgun? Then click on the video next to me to reveal all 3 mistakes. Mistake number 2 may shock you. Click this video right next to me